The alarms blared throughout Research Station Epsilon 9, their harsh sound bouncing off metal walls. Dr. Tae-ho Kim ran down the corridor, his white coat flying behind him. People rushed past him in the other direction, faces filled with fear. "Doctor, Kim, you should be heading to the escape pods." A security officer grabbed his arm. Tae-ho pulled away. "Director Han called me to containment level 5. It's important." The officer looked at him like he was crazy but let him go. Tae-ho kept running. He was the station's best xenoneurologist, a doctor who studied alien brains. If Director Han had called him during an emergency, it must be serious. When he reached containment level 5, 6 armed guards stood outside a massive door. They checked his ID and let him through with worried looks. Inside, Director Han stood with 2 military officers. Behind them, visible through a transparent wall, was the largest alien Tae-ho had ever seen. The creature was nearly 15 meters tall, with dark purple skin covered in natural armor plates. It had 4 powerful arms and a head that reminded Tae-ho of an earth scorpion, but with 6 glowing yellow eyes. It thrashed against the restraints holding it to the wall, making the whole room shake. "A Bio-Tyrant," Tae-ho whispered. Everyone in human space knew about Bio-Tyrants. In the past 5 years, they had attacked and destroyed 3 colony worlds. Thousands had died. No one knew where they came from or why they attacked. Director Han nodded. Captured near Outpost 23, the military was bringing it to a secure facility when its transport ship was damaged. We were the closest station. "Why? Call me?" Tae-ho asked. "Look at these brain scans," Director Han said, showing him a tablet. Tae-ho studied the images. His eyes widened. "This is strange. There's a growth here and here." He pointed to several spots on the alien's brain scan. "It's pressing on what appears to be pain centers." "In human terms?" asked one of the military officers. "It's like having a tumor that causes constant horrible pain," Tae-ho explained. "If a human had this, they would be screaming every waking moment." As if understanding his words, the Bio-Tyrant suddenly stopped thrashing. All 6 eyes turned toward Tae-ho. A mechanical voice came from a translator unit on the wall. "Help! Pain! Make stop!" Everyone in the room froze. "Did it just talk?" Tae-ho asked. Director Han nodded slowly. "It started responding to simple questions during transport. That's the other reason you're here. We need to know if it's really intelligent or just mimicking speech." Tae-ho stepped closer to the transparent wall. "Can you understand me?" The Bio-Tyrant's eyes blinked in sequence. "Yes, pain. Long time. Help or kill me." The military officers exchanged glances. The older one spoke up. "Our orders are clear. This thing is responsible for thousands of deaths. We study it, then terminate it." "Wait," Tae-ho said. "If it's in constant pain, that might explain the attacks. What if it wasn't acting out of aggression but from pain-induced madness?" "Doesn't matter," the officer replied coldly. "Orders are orders." Tae-ho turned back to the Bio-Tyrant. "Do you have a name?" The creature made a strange rumbling sound. The translator spoke. "Yoon. Yoon," Tae-ho repeated. "I'm Dr. Kim. I study brains. I think something is wrong with yours, causing your pain." "Yes," the translator said. "Others like me, all pain, all gone mad. I fight it. Long time." Director Han pulled Tae-ho aside. "We have 6 hours before a military transport arrives to take it away. Use that time to learn what you can. But don't get attached, Doctor. This thing is still a killer." For the next 5 hours, Tae-ho talked with Yoon. He ran more scans and tests. What he discovered amazed him. Yoon wasn't just intelligent. She was highly advanced. The growths in her brain were not natural. They appeared to be engineered, designed to cause pain and trigger aggressive responses. "Who made these growths in your brain?" Tae-ho asked. "Creators," Yoon replied through the translator, "made us for war, then disappeared, left us with pain, growing worse." Tae-ho's hands trembled as he reviewed the data. "I think I could help you. There's a surgical procedure. Risky, but it might remove the growths without damaging your brain function. Yoon's eyes fixed on him. Truth? Yes, Tae-ho said. But I need permission and time. When Director Han returned, Tae-ho explained his findings. She's not naturally violent. She's been engineered as a weapon, with built-in controls that are now malfunctioning. I can help her. Absolutely not, the military officer cut in. The transport will be here in 1 hour. Prepare the specimen for transfer. She's not a specimen, Tae-ho argued. She's a sentient being in pain. This could change everything we know about bio-tyrants. Director Han looked troubled. Dr. Kim, I understand your concern, but my hands are tied. As they argued, the station's alarm suddenly blared again. A voice came over the intercom. Alert, unknown vessels approaching, hostile intent detected, all personnel to battle stations. The military officers rushed out. Director Han turned to Tae-ho. Stay here. Keep the bio-tyrant secure. He hurried after them. Alone with Yoon, Tae-ho made a decision. He entered the containment area, bringing his medical equipment. What doing? Yoon asked. I'm going to help you, Tae-ho said. I don't have proper equipment, but I can at least reduce your pain. He began setting up a makeshift surgical station. The station shook as explosions hit it. The lights flickered. Station, under attack, Yoon observed. You should leave. Tae-ho shook his head. Not without helping you first. For the next 30 minutes, as the station rocked with explosions, Tae-ho worked. Using a neural inhibitor, he managed to block the pain signals from the growths in Yoon's brain. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it would give her relief. As he finished, the door to the containment area burst open. 3 armed figures in unfamiliar uniforms entered. Perfect timing, one said, looking at Yoon. Prometheus will pay well for a live bio-tyrant. They pointed their weapons at Tae-ho. Step away from it, doctor. Tae-ho stood his ground. She's a patient, not an it. The leader laughed. Your funeral. He fired his weapon. Tae-ho closed his eyes, expecting death. Instead, he heard a roar and felt a rush of air. When he opened his eyes, Yoon had broken free of her restraints and moved with shocking speed. 3 of her arms held the attackers against the wall. The 4th arm gently moved Tae-ho behind her. Not hurt, doctor, Yoon said, her translator voice, somehow fiercer. Doctor helped Yoon, Yoon helped doctor. More explosions rocked the station. A computerized voice announced, critical damage to life support systems, station integrity failing, evacuation advised. Yoon looked down at Tae-ho. Must leave now, come. Tae-ho hesitated only a moment. Then he grabbed his medical bag and the neural translator unit. Lead the way. Together, the human doctor and the bio-tyrant fought their way through the chaos of the dying station. An unlikely alliance formed in the crucible of crisis. As they reached the escape pod bay, Tae-ho wondered what would happen next. He had saved her from her brain's betrayal. Now they would face the stars together. 3 months had passed since Tae-ho and Yoon escaped the destruction of Research Station Epsilon 9. They lived now in an abandoned mining outpost on a small moon. No one came here anymore after the ore ran out 10 years ago. Tae-ho sat on a crate, watching as Yoon ducked to fit through the large cargo door. Even hunched over, the bio-tyrant stood 3 times taller than him. Her purple skin gleamed in the dim light. Food found, Yoon said through the translator device Tae-ho had taken from the station. She dropped several large animals on the ground. They looked like deer, but with 6 legs and tough scales instead of fur. Thank you, Tae-ho said. He had gotten used to Yoon hunting for them both. He would cook his portion, while she ate hers raw. As Tae-ho prepared a fire, Yoon settled down, across from him. In the past months, Tae-ho had improved the translator, and Yoon had gotten better at using human speech patterns. Your cough is worse today, Yoon observed. Tae-ho tried to smile, but ended up coughing again. It's nothing, just the dust. Yoon's 6 yellow eyes blinked in sequence. Something Tae-ho had learned meant she was thinking deeply. Not dust, something else, since surgery. She was right, though Tae-ho didn't want to admit it. During the rushed procedure on the station, He had been exposed to something in Yoon's biology. A scan on his medical tablet showed a slow-growing problem in his own brain now. Not the same as Yoon's, but still dangerous. "I need real medical equipment," he said finally. "The kind you only find in big hospitals." Yoon made a low, rumbling sound. "Dangerous. Humans hunt us." That was true. News had spread about a rogue scientist who had freed a Bio-Tyrant. There was a bounty on both their heads. The military wanted Yoon dead and Tae-ho in prison. And then there was Prometheus, the mysterious group that had attacked the station. They seemed to want Yoon alive. For reasons Tae-ho couldn't guess. "We've been hiding for 3 months, Tae-ho said, stirring the cooking meat. "I've helped your condition, but mine is getting worse if I don't get treatment soon." He didn't finish the sentence. Yoon was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Tell me about this treatment." Tae-ho explained what he needed. Advanced brain, scanning equipment, specific medicines, maybe even surgery. "There's a medical outpost on Verdun 3. It's small but might have what I need." "Small means less guards," Yoon noted. "We go tomorrow." Tae-ho looked up in surprise. "You're willing to risk it?" Yoon moved one of her 4 arms in a gesture that looked almost human. A shrug. "You save Yoon from pain. Now Yoon save you." The next day they took their small ship, stolen during their escape from the station, and headed for Verdun 3. The trip would take 16 hours. As they traveled, Tae-ho's coughing got worse. He began to get dizzy spells. Yoon watched him with concern. "Tell Yoon your story," she said, clearly trying to keep him talking and alert. So Tae-ho told her about growing up on Earth, about his fascination with brains, human and alien. He explained how he had become a xenoneurologist, studying the nervous systems of non-human life forms. "What about you?" he asked Yoon. "You've never told me where you came from." Yoon was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak, her words translated by the device. "Long ago there was a race called the Shapers. They made weapons for a war against enemies from beyond the stars. Bio-Tyrants were their greatest creation. Living weapons with armor, strength, and natural weapons." Tae-ho listened, fascinated as Yoon continued. "To control the Bio-Tyrants, Shapers put growths in our brains. Pain if we disobeyed. But then Shapers disappeared. All at once. No one knows why. Left behind Bio-Tyrants with pain-makers still in our brains. And the pain got worse over time," Tae-ho guessed. "Yes. Most Bio-Tyrants went mad from pain. Attacked anything, destroyed worlds. I fought the madness, searched for help." "How many of you are there?" Tae-ho asked. "Once thousands. Now maybe dozens. Maybe I am last, cannot know." Before Tae-ho could ask more questions, the ship's alarm sounded. A larger vessel was approaching from behind. "Military ship," Yoon said, looking at the scanner. "Found us." Tae-ho checked the controls. "We're still 4 hours from Verdun 3. We can't outrun them." "Hide." "There." Yoon pointed to a dense asteroid field nearby. Tae-ho turned the ship toward the asteroids. His vision blurred, and he shook his UO head to clear it. The dizziness was getting worse. As they entered the asteroid field, Tae-ho's hands slipped on the controls. The ship lurched, nearly hitting a large rock. "Cannot fly," Yoon said. "Too sick." She gently moved Tae-ho from the pilot's seat with one of her smaller arms. Then she took control of the ship. Despite her massive size and the small controls designed for humans, she flew with surprising skill. "How can you do this?" Tae-ho asked weakly. "Bio-Tyrants made for all combat, space combat included. Knowledge built into us." They weaved through the asteroid field with the military ship following at a distance. Suddenly, Yoon made a sharp turn, hiding their ship behind a large asteroid. She shut down all systems except life support. "They will pass," she whispered. For 20 tense minutes, they floated in darkness. The military ship slowly moved past their hiding spot, continuing deeper into the asteroid field. Yoon waited another 10 minutes before starting their systems again. "Safe now. Continue to Verdun 3. Tae-ho nodded, but then doubled over in a coughing fit. When he pulled his hand, away from his mouth it was speckled with blood. Yoon saw it too. Her eyes narrowed and she pushed the ship's engines harder. "Must hurry," she said. When they reached Verdun 3, Yoon landed the ship in a forest clearing 2 kilometers from the medical outpost. Night had fallen, which would help hide her massive form. "I'll go alone," Tae-ho insisted, though he could barely stand. "No. Too weak. Yoon will carry you close, then you walk final distance." There was no time to argue. Tae-ho gathered his medical ID card, using a false name, and some credits. Yoon picked him up gently in one of her arms and moved through the forest with surprising quietness for a creature her size. At the edge of the forest, with the lights of the medical outpost visible in the distance, Yoon set Tae-ho down. "I will wait here," she said. "If trouble, call name. Yoon will come." Tae-ho nodded, gathering his strength. "I should be back in a few hours. Don't worry." But as he turned to leave, Yoon placed one of her clawed hands gently on his shoulder. "Be careful, Tae-ho," she said, using his name for the first time. "You are only friend Yoon has ever known." Tae-ho reached up and placed his hand over her massive claw. "I'll be back, I promise." Then he walked out of the forest toward the medical outpost, hoping he could get the help he needed and return before either the military or Prometheus found them. Tae-ho stumbled through the doors of the medical outpost on Verdun 3. The small waiting room had only 3 other people in it. A tired-looking nurse sat behind a desk. "Help," Tae-ho said before another coughing fit hit him. He leaned against the wall, trying to stay standing. The nurse rushed over. "Sir, what's wrong?" "Need scan," Tae-ho managed to say. He showed his medical ID card with his false name. "Doctor. Brain problem." The nurse and a doctor who rushed in helped Tae-ho onto a bed. They rolled him into a room with scanning equipment. Tae-ho felt relief wash over him. Finally, proper medical help. The doctor, an older man with kind eyes, looked at the first scan results and frowned. "This is very unusual. When did these symptoms start?" Tae-ho had prepared a story. "Research accident. 3 months ago. Exposure to alien tissue samples." The doctor nodded. "I'm Dr. Kwan. We don't see many cases like this here, but I'll do my best." For the next hour, Tae-ho underwent more scans and tests. Dr. Kwan gave him medicine for the pain and something to stop the coughing. Tae-ho began to feel better than he had in weeks. "The good news is we can treat the symptoms," Dr. Kwan said. "The bad news is we don't have the equipment here for the full treatment you need." Tae-ho's heart sank. "How long do I have?" "Without proper treatment. Maybe 2 months before permanent damage begins. 6 months before." Dr. Kwan didn't finish the sentence, but Tae-ho understood. 6 months to live. "I know someone who might be able to help," Dr. Kwan continued. "An old colleague of mine works at Central Hospital on Proxima Station. I can contact him." Tae-ho tensed. Proxima Station was a major hub. Too many people, too much security. "Is there anyone else? Somewhere less busy?" Dr. Kwan looked curious, but didn't press. "Well, there's Dr. June Park, brilliant researcher. Works at a private facility on Moon 9 of Helta Prime. Very isolated, but getting an appointment there is nearly impossible." Tae-ho sat up. "Dr. June Park? I know him. We trained together on Earth." This wasn't a lie. June had been Tae-ho's friend during their training. They had lost touch over the years. But if anyone would help him, and possibly understand about, and it would be June. "Can you contact him?" Tae-ho asked eagerly. Dr. Kwan nodded. "I'll try. In the meantime, let me give you medicine to take with you. It will help for a few weeks." As Dr. Kwan left the room to prepare the medicine, Tae-ho heard a commotion in the hallway. Loud voices, heavy footsteps. "We have reports of a man matching this description entering your facility," a stern voice said. "A dangerous fugitive." Military. They had found him. Tae-ho's heart raced. He looked around frantically. The room had a window. He was on the ground. Floor. He could escape, but where would he go? Yoon was waiting in the forest. The voices got closer. Tae-ho made his decision. He opened the window and climbed out just as the door to his room opened. He heard shouts behind him as he ran toward the forest. "Woon!" he called out as he entered the trees. "Woon! We need to go!" There was no answer. Tae-ho ran deeper into the forest, hearing soldiers behind him. Where was Yoon? Suddenly, the ground shook. Trees cracked and fell. Yoon appeared, moving with shocking speed for her size. Without a word, she scooped Tae-ho up and began running in the opposite direction from their ship. "The ship is that way," Tae-ho pointed. "Ship watched," Yoon said through the translator. "Soldiers there too." Gunfire erupted behind them. Bullets pinged off Yoon's natural armor. She didn't slow down. "Did you get help?" she asked as she ran. "Some medicine. Not a cure," Tae-ho said. "But I found someone who might help us. An old friend. Dr. June Park." Yoon ran for nearly an hour, putting distance between them and the outpost. Finally, she stopped in a small clearing. She set Tae-ho down gently. "Need ship. Need to reach this doctor friend," she said. Tae-ho nodded. "There's a small spaceport about 20 kilometers east. We might be able to borrow a ship." Yoon made. A sound that Tae-ho had learned was her version of a laugh. "Steal, you mean? Borrow with intention to not return," Tae-ho said with a weak smile. They traveled through the night, reaching the spaceport just before dawn. It was a simple place with only a dozen small ships. No military presence was visible. "Wait here," Tae-ho told Yoon. "I'll find us a ship." "No," Yoon said firmly. "Too weak. I will get ship." Before Tae-ho could argue, Yoon moved toward the spaceport. He watched in amazement as her body began to change. She shrank, her purple skin darkening to almost black. Her forearms pulled into her body, leaving just two. In minutes, she looked like a large, oddly shaped shadow. "How?" Tae-ho began. "Bio-Tyrants made for all combat," Yoon reminded him. "Stealth included." In her darker, smaller form, Yoon moved toward the ships. Tae-ho watched as she disabled a security camera, broke into a ship, and started its engines. The ship, a small cargo vessel, floated toward where Tae-ho waited. The cargo door opened. Tae-ho climbed aboard, and Yoon wasted no time taking off. By the time alarms began to sound at the spaceport, they were already high above the planet. "Set. Course for Helta Prime, Moon 9, Tae-ho said. As Yoon programmed the navigation computer, Tae-ho took some of the medicine Dr. Kwan had given him. The relief was immediate. 4 days to reach Moon 9, Yoon said. "Rest now." Tae-ho didn't argue. He was exhausted. As he drifted off to sleep, he hoped his old friend June would be willing to help them. 4 days later, they approached Helta Prime, a gas giant with 12 moons. The 9th moon was small and rocky, with just one visible structure, a large dome-shaped building surrounded by a force field. "Private research facility," Tae-ho said. "June works for a company called Biosynthetics. They make medical equipment." "Military?" Yoon asked cautiously. "No, civilian. But they have security. We can't just land at the front door." Yoon studied the Yao scans. "There, maintenance area, less sensors." She guided the ship to a small landing pad near what looked like a power station. As they landed, Tae-ho tried to stand but felt dizzy again. The medicine was wearing off and he had used the last of it that morning. "Can't walk well," he admitted. Without hesitation, Yoon shrank down to her stealth form. Then she picked Tae-ho up and carried him. They left the ship and approached a side door of the facility. The door had a security panel. Tae-ho reached out with shaking hands and typed in the emergency medical access code he'd used in his day's training with June. To his surprise, it worked. The door slid open. "June never changes his codes," Tae-ho said with a weak laugh. They entered a quiet hallway. It was early morning by the facility's time and few people were around. Yoon carried Tae-ho through the halls, following his whispered directions toward the research labs where June would likely be working. Finally, they reached a door labeled Dr. June Park, Neural research. Taeho knocked. The door opened, revealing a man about Taeho's age with round glasses and a surprised expression. "Taeho," June gasped. "Is that really you? The news said you were dead." Then June's eyes moved to the dark, strange shape holding his old friend. His face went pale. "June," Taeho said urgently. "I need your help, we both do." June looked down the empty hallway, then back at the strange pair. "Come in," he said finally, stepping aside. "Quickly." As the door closed behind them, Taeho felt a mix of hope and fear. Would his old friend help them, or had he just made a terrible mistake? June Park's lab was large and filled with advanced equipment. He helped Taeho to a chair while staring at Yoon with wide, frightened eyes. "What is that thing?" June whispered. "My name Yoon," the translator on Taeho's wrist said. "I am friend." June jumped back. "It talks." Taeho held up a weak hand. "June, please, I need you to listen. This is Yoon. She's a Bio-Tyrant, but she's not what people think, and I'm very sick. We need your help." June looked at his old friend's pale face and nodded slowly. "Let me scan you first, then you can explain everything." As June examined Taeho, with his advanced medical equipment, Yoon returned to her full size. Her purple skin gleamed under the lab lights. June kept glancing nervously at her as he worked. "This is bad, Taeho," June said finally. "Your brain tissue is being attacked by something I've never seen before. It's like a virus, but not exactly. How did this happen?" Taeho explained everything, finding Yoon on the research station, discovering the growths in her brain, performing emergency surgery, and being exposed to her biology. "The growths in her brain were engineered," Taeho said, "made by an ancient race called the Shapers. I think I was infected when I removed them." June looked at Yoon with new interest. "Engineered bioweapons? That's incredible." His fear seemed to fade, replaced by scientific curiosity. "Can you help?" Yoon asked, her huge eyes focused on June. June ran a hand through his hair. "Maybe. I need to run more tests, but I'll need tissue samples from both of you." While June worked, Taeho rested on a medical bed. His condition was stable but not improving. Yoon stood nearby, watching over him. After several hours, the lab door suddenly opened. A young woman in a military uniform entered. Yoon immediately moved to protect Taeho, but the woman held up her hands. "Please, I'm not here to fight," she said quickly. "I'm Captain Soo-Jin Lee. I work in military research, and Dr. Park called me." Taeho looked at June with surprise and fear. "You called the military?" June shook his head. "Not the military, just Soo-Jin. She's my... well, we're engaged," Soo-Jin said simply, "and I have information you need." Soo-Jin explained that she had been investigating Bio-Tyrants for the military. "My brother died on Proxima Colony when it was attacked," she said. "I wanted to understand what happened, but what I found didn't match the official story." She pulled out a data pad and showed them files she had collected. The Bio-Tyrants didn't just attack randomly. They were directed. Someone activated the pain centers in their brains all at once, driving them mad. "Who would do that?" Taeho asked. "A group called Prometheus," Soo-Jin said. Yoon made a rumbling sound. "Prometheus. Attacked station where Taeho found me," Soo-Jin nodded. "They're a secret organization. They want to control Bio-Tyrants as weapons. They caused the colony attacks to make the military hunt down and capture Bio-Tyrants for them." Taeho's head spun with this information. "So the military isn't our enemy." "Some know the truth," Soo-Jin said. "Most don't. They just follow orders to hunt Bio-Tyrants." She looked at Yoon with wonder. "I never thought I'd meet one that could talk." June returned with his test results. His face was grim. "I found the problem," he said. "When you removed the growths from Yoon's brain, a defense mechanism was triggered. It released tiny organisms that attack any foreign DNA. They're in your system, Taeho, breaking down your brain cells." "Can you stop them?" Yoon asked anxiously. June hesitated. "Theoretically, yes, but I need something I don't have: stem cells from a healthy Bio-Tyrant brain. I could use them to create a treatment that would draw the organisms out of Taeho's brain." All eyes turned to Yoon. She touched her large head with one of her 4 hands. "My brain not fully healthy," she said. "Surgery helped, but damage remains." Soo-jin suddenly straightened. "I know where we can find what we need." She looked nervous but determined. "Prometheus has a research facility on Delphi 6. They're holding at least one Bio-Tyrant there for experiments. The data could be there, too." "Delphi 6? June looked shocked. "That's a restricted world, heavily guarded." "I can get us in," Soo-jin said. "I have clearance, but once inside we'd be on our own." Tae-ho tried to sit up. "It's too dangerous. I can't ask you to risk your lives." Yoon placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Not your choice. My choice. We'll help you as you helped me." "I'm going too," June said. "You'll need a medical expert to recognize what we're looking for." Soo-jin nodded. "I'll create a cover story, a special transport of a captured Bio-Tyrant for study." She looked at Yoon. "Can you pretend to be unconscious? We'll need to restrain you for appearance's sake." Yoon made a sound like a low laugh. "Can do more than that." She demonstrated by shrinking down again to her smaller, darker form. "Amazing," Soo-jin breathed. They spent the next day preparing. June created a temporary treatment to stabilize Tae-ho. Soo-jin arranged transport clearance, and Yoon practiced changing her appearance to look like she had been sedated and captured. Finally, they were ready. Soo-jin had secured a military transport ship. Tae-ho was still weak but able to walk. They disguised him as a medical assistant. June posed as a scientist and Yoon lay in a large containment unit, appearing to be unconscious. As they approached Delphi 6, Tae-ho felt fear knot his stomach. They were flying directly into the headquarters of the people who had been hunting them. "Delphi 6 Control. This is Military Transport 347, Soo-jin said into the communication system. "Requesting landing clearance. We have Bio-Tyrant specimen BST-12 for laboratory analysis." After a tense moment, a voice replied, "Transport 347, you are cleared to land at Pad 5. Security will meet you." Soo-jin landed the ship at the designated pad. The facility was massive, a sprawling complex built into the side of a mountain. Armed guards approached as they lowered the cargo ramp. "Captain Lee," the lead guard said, checking Soo-jin's ID. "We weren't expecting a specimen today." "Special orders," Soo-jin said confidently. "Direct from General Min. The specimen has unique neural characteristics they want studied immediately." The guard nodded and looked at the containment unit holding Yoon. "Secure? Completely sedated," June said in his most professional voice. "Brain activity minimal." The guards escorted them into the facility. Tae-ho kept his head down, trying not to draw attention. Inside, the building was a maze of white corridors and secured doors. "Lab 7 is prepared for your specimen," the guard said, leading them down a long hallway. As they walked, Tae-ho noticed cameras everywhere. Scientists in white coats passed by, barely giving them a glance. This place was huge. How would they find what they needed? The guard stopped at a large door marked Laboratory 7 and used his keycard to open it. Inside was a high-tech lab with equipment Tae-ho had never seen before. "The director will want to inspect the specimen," the guard said. "I'll inform him. You've arrived." After the guard left, Soo-jin quickly moved to a computer terminal. "We don't have much time. I need to find where they keep the Bio-Tyrant research data." June helped Tae-ho to a chair. "How are you feeling?" "Like my head is full of fog," Tae-ho admitted. "But I'll manage." Yoon remained perfectly still in her containment unit, but her eyes followed their movements. Through the translator, she whispered, "More Bio-Tyrants here, can sense them. Below us." Soo-jin looked up from the computer. "Found it. Research level B, 3 floors down. That's where they keep both the data and the live specimens." Tae-ho took a deep breath. They had made it inside Prometheus headquarters. But the real challenge was just beginning. Somehow they needed to get to research level B, find the data they needed, and escape. All while in the heart of enemy territory. And time was running out for all of them. "We need access cards to reach research level B." Sujin said, studying the facility map on the computer. And we don't have much time before the real director arrives. As if on cue, the lab door opened. A tall man in a white coat entered, flanked by 2 guards. He had cold eyes and a thin smile. "Captain Lee," he said. "I am Dr. Hyun, head of this facility. I wasn't informed of your arrival." Sujin stood straight. "Special orders, sir. This Bio-Tyrant has unique neural patterns." Dr. Hyun walked to the containment unit and studied Yoon. "Indeed, I don't recognize this specimen. Where was it captured?" "Outer Rim," Sujin said quickly. "Near Verdun 3. Tae-ho tensed. That was too close to the truth. Dr. Hyun's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. We had reports of activity in that sector." He turned to June. "And you are?" "Dr. Park. Neurology specialist," June said. Dr. Hyun nodded, then looked at Tae-ho. "And this one?" Before anyone could answer, Tae-ho's illness chose that moment to strike. A wave of dizziness hit him and he collapsed to the floor, coughing violently. The guards raised their weapons, but Dr. Hyun waved them down. "What's wrong with him?" "My assistant," June said quickly, helping Tae-ho up. "He was exposed to Bio-Tyrant tissue during a previous examination. We're still studying the effects." Dr. Hyun's face changed. Suddenly, he looked intensely interested. "Exposed? How long ago?" 3 months, June said. "And still alive?" Dr. Hyun said with surprise. "Most subjects die within weeks of exposure." He studied Tae-ho with new interest. "This could be valuable research. Bring him to my private lab. We'll examine him immediately." Sujin stepped forward. "Sir, our orders are to analyze the Bio-Tyrant first." "Your orders have changed, Captain," Dr. Hyun said coldly. "Guards, escort them all to Lab 12. And bring the Bio-Tyrant specimen." The guards moved forward. There was no choice but to follow. They wheeled Yoon's containment unit behind them as they were led deeper into the facility. Lab 12 was larger than the previous one. Strange equipment filled the room. Most disturbing were 3 giant glass tanks against one wall. Each contained what looked like a partial Bio-Tyrant, just the brain and spinal cord, connected to machines. "What have you done to them?" Tae-ho whispered in horror. Dr. Hyun smiled. "Beautiful, isn't it? Pure neural tissue without all that troublesome muscle and armor. Much easier to control." He walked to a control panel and pressed a button. A screen lit up, showing images of Bio-Tyrants attacking human settlements. "The perfect weapons," Dr. Hyun continued. "We activate their pain centers remotely, aiming them at targets like missiles. Then we collect the survivors for our research." Sujin's face was pale with anger. "You caused the colony attacks. My brother died because of you." Dr. Hyun shrugged. "Casualties are inevitable in progress, Captain." Tae-ho looked at the tanks again. "You're a monster." "No," Dr. Hyun said. "I am the future. The Shapers knew this. They created the Bio-Tyrants as the ultimate weapons. I am simply continuing their work." "You know of Shapers?" Yoon's translator suddenly spoke. Dr. Hyun spun around, shocked to hear the Bio-Tyrant speak. "Impossible!" Yoon's containment unit burst open. She rose to her full height, all 6 eyes burning with fury. The guards raised their weapons, but Yoon moved with blinding speed. She knocked them unconscious before they could fire a shot. Dr. Hyun backed away. "How is this possible? The control growths should keep you in constant pain." "Tae-ho removed them," Yoon said, advancing on him. "Tae-ho freed me." Understanding dawned on Dr. Hyun's face. "You're Dr. Kim, the rogue scientist." He looked at Tae-ho with new interest. "You successfully removed the control mechanisms? Without killing the specimen? That's remarkable." "She's not a specimen," Tae-ho said weakly. "She's a person." Dr. Hyun laughed. "How sentimental. And now you're dying from exposure to her biology. Ironic." He reached for a button on the wall. "But don't worry. I'll make sure your research doesn't go to waste." Sujin drew her weapon and pointed it at Dr. Hyun. "Don't move." Dr. Hyun froze, then smiled again. You're too late. I've already alerted security. This facility has 50 armed guards. You can't escape. June had moved to a computer terminal. I've found the research data, including the Bio-Tyrant neural stem cell formulas. I'm downloading them now, Dr. Hyun laughed. It won't help him. The process to create the treatment takes days. Your friend will be dead by then. Yoon looked at the tanks with the Bio-Tyrant brains. Others like me, in pain. They're just specimens, Dr. Hyun said dismissively. Lab-grown from genetic material. They were never whole beings. Woon approached the tanks. She placed one massive hand on each glass surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the brains in the tanks seemed to pulse, with new energy. What are you doing? Dr. Hyun demanded. Connecting, Yoon said simply. They have what Taeho needs. They want to help. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. Security is coming, Soo-jin warned. We need to leave now. June finished downloading the data. Got it, let's go. But Taeho couldn't stand. The dizziness was overwhelming now. His vision blurred and his breathing came in short gasps. Yoon turned from the tanks. No time to escape. Taeho too sick. She looked at June. Can you make cure here? Now? June looked at the lab equipment. Maybe. With the right materials, Yoon pointed to the tanks. Use them. They offer their help. Dr. Hyun laughed again. You'll never survive long enough. My security team will be here any second. Yoon looked at him with all 6 eyes. You made these controls. You created this pain. She lifted him off the ground with one powerful arm. You will help fix what you broke. Fear crossed Dr. Hyun's face for the first time. Put me down, creature. Help Taeho live, Yoon said, or join your specimens. The threat was clear. Dr. Hyun swallowed hard and nodded. For the next 20 minutes, as security pounded on the sealed lab door, Dr. Hyun and June worked frantically. They extracted material from the Bio-Tyrant brains in the tanks, combined it with chemicals from the lab, and created a serum that might save Taeho. It's ready, June said finally, filling a syringe. But I don't know if it will work. Do it, Taeho whispered. June injected the serum into Taeho's neck. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Taeho's body went rigid. He gasped, his back arching in pain. What's happening? Soo-jin demanded. The serum is attacking the organisms in his brain, Dr. Hyun explained, watching with scientific interest. The process is violent. Taeho felt like his head was on fire. Then suddenly the pain stopped. The fog in his mind cleared. He took a deep breath, the first easy breath in months. It worked, he said in amazement. I can feel it. The pounding on the door grew louder. Metal began to bend. We still need to escape, Soo-jin reminded them. Yoon had been standing still, her hands still on the tanks. No escape needed, she said. Help has come. The entire facility suddenly shook violently. Alarms changed tone, becoming more urgent. What did you do? Dr. Hyun demanded. Not me, Yoon said. Them. She nodded at the tanks. They called others. Over the facility's communication system, panicked voices could be heard. Multiple Bio-Tyrants approaching from the south. They're breaking through the perimeter. Dr. Hyun's face went pale. Impossible. There are no wild Bio-Tyrants on this planet. Not wild, Yoon corrected. Free. Ones who escaped your hunters. They heard the call. The lab door finally burst open. Security troops rushed in, weapons raised. But before they could fire, the entire facility rocked with a massive explosion. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Get to the landing pad, Soo-jin ordered. Our ship might still be there. Yoon picked up Taeho, who was still weak but improving by the minute. They fought their way through the chaos of the facility. All around them, alarms blared and people ran in panic. When they reached the landing pad, their ship was still there, but so were a dozen armed guards. We'll never make it, June said. Just then, a massive shape dropped from the sky. Another Bio-Tyrant, larger than Yoon with red armor plates, landed on the pad. It roared and charged the guards, scattering them. Go, Yoon urged. Ship. They ran for the transport ship. Sujin started the engines as Jun helped Tae-ho aboard. Yoon turned to follow but stopped and looked back at the red Bio-Tyrant. Come with us, she said in her own language. The red Bio-Tyrant shook its massive head and gestured to the facility, where more of its kind were fighting. It would stay with them. Yoon nodded in understanding. She placed one hand on the red Bio-Tyrant's arm, a gesture of thanks, then boarded the ship. As they lifted off, Tae-ho looked down at the chaos below. Bio-Tyrants were destroying the facility, but he noticed they were avoiding the residential areas where civilian workers lived. They're not mindless killers, he said softly. Never were, Yoon agreed, sitting beside him. Just in pain. Forced to be weapons. Tae-ho looked at his friend, this creature that humans feared that had been created as an engine of destruction, but who had risked everything to save his life. What now? He asked as their ship broke through the atmosphere. Wounds. 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Find others like me, help them end pain. She turned to look at Tae-ho. Together? Tae-ho smiled and placed his hand on one of Yoon's massive claws. Together. Behind them, the Prometheus facility burned. A chapter closed. Ahead, the stars waited, full of possibilities for the most unlikely of allies. A human doctor, and the Bio-Tyrant he had saved from its own brain who had fought just to keep him breathing.